Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into another mead, not a beer today. We've had a few from this specific meadery, and this is Misbehavin Meads out of Valparaiso, Indiana. Today's mead is called Jammy AF. It clocks in at 13.5% ABV, and it's a mead that's also got added blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, and vanilla. So I'm expecting this is going to be absolutely packed full of flavor, probably packed with very big aroma as well. Label art just kind of got the color of the berries. It says Jammy AF. Nice clean design. I absolutely love mead. I've been doing my best to get my hands on more, to review more often. But yeah, so here we go into another one today. Got our trusty little cork opener because I believe this is a cork. I was guessing as much by the foil over the top that looks very much like wine would, and indeed that does appear to be the case. So we'll just get that pulled right out of there. All right. There we go. And just as with wine, we can indeed smell the cork, get a lot of info. Oh wow, yeah. Gosh, that does smell very jammy, very, very fruit forward. Smells absolutely incredible. That's just off of the cork there. This is actually plastic here. I'm just going to get that out of the way so I've got a clean little bit, not catching on plastic, to pour it into the glass. I'm using this nice little tulip-shaped glass here. My Delirium Tremens, or Noel glass. My Delirium glass. This actually came with a set of Noel I got back in the day, but get that poured in. Pouring reasonably cleanly. All right. Visually, yeah, very dark. It's absolutely clear, though. It is see-through. Yeah, probably got to have nice bright lights like I do because it's very dark, but it's a deep purplish reddish, almost like a ruby red with a lot of purple in it. Very, very beautiful color. Let's get right up over for a full sniff. Yeah. That smells really nice. This actually reminds me of that with the baseball bat mead, aromatic-wise. It's just packed full, very upfront, in-your-face, the berry aroma. Blackberry, raspberry, and strawberry together. Just an absolutely incredible aroma combination here. Yeah, the vanilla is getting drowned out on the nose. There's a little bit in the background, but the berries are so prominent, they're really in the forefront. And I would say it's really almost like even distribution of the berry aroma. Raspberry, blackberry, strawberry, you can smell them all very individually. But altogether, it smells absolutely incredible. Mead, of course, room temperature here, so the glass is going to stay nice and clear. We're going to jump right in for a first sip. Oh, man. Oh, that's delicious. Yeah, that's another really, really good one. Misbehavin does very, very good meads. There's a few meaderies I've had, some really stellar ones. They're one of them. Absolutely incredible. Really, really strong flavors of these berries. And yeah, the vanilla is a little more subtle. It's not quite as prominent on the nose as the berries, but it is equally as easily discernible in the flavor profile as the berries are. So obviously it's a honey fermented beverage. There is very distinctly a honey flavor to this. And then the berries kind of stack on top of it. Raspberry, blackberry, strawberry, it's all present. And the vanilla does very distinctly taste like vanilla, but much like another beer that we reviewed recently, it's kind of imparting this kind of berries and cream vibe from the vanilla edition as it pairs with these big, bold berry flavors. It's absolutely delicious. This is a very, very well put together mead. The flavor combinations they chose, not only does it look great in the glass by choosing those fruit, but it absolutely works together in the flavor profile. And these are all flavors that do work very, very well in a mead. It's a mead, so yes, there is some natural inherent underlying sweetness to the beverage, and it's one of the traits that kind of make these additives, especially things like fruit, really pop out and taste exactly like they would if you were eating them or mixing them in a smoothie or something, because it does have that natural sweetness. Absolutely incredible. So I'm going to jump back for a second sip. Going to talk about the body and mouthfeel. That is important just as it is in beer. And again, we will talk about the finish as well. Completely different beverage, but it all is part of the experience of drinking it. So I'm going to dig these apart. Take two. Body on this, I would say, feels medium, just beginning to encroach on the very low border of medium heavy. It is 13.5% ABV after all, and it's got a little weight to it. Meads in general are not going to be as heavy as their beer counterparts, even though they typically have much higher ABVs than, imperial, if we get in imperial beer territory. And 13.5%, that's not low for a beer. It's not really low for a mead either, but it's kind of average, sitting in the middle of the road. It's got some substance to it. Obviously, there's a fair amount of fermentables that went into this, but it doesn't have quite the same heft and weight. So it's not something that you come away from feeling like it's heavy or weighing you down. Not at all. The mouthfeel is a similar story. You can tell, obviously, there's fermentables in here. It's thicker and it's got more resistance and viscosity than water. But again, this is not on the same kind of level as, say, if you're drinking an equivalently high ABV Imperial Stout, for instance. It doesn't feel like that. Yes, there's resistance. I would say for a mead, it's maybe a little bit more resistant than the average kind of in this ABV range, but it's not over the top. So yeah, body and mouthfeel are more or less what I would expect, but maybe just a little bit higher than your average, to be certain. But very, very nice, very textbook, as it were, for a mead in this ABV range. Now, in terms of second sip intensification, how do these flavors, anything else pop out at me? Not really. It was just nice to get that flavor profile again, re-intensifying all over the palate. And because it's a mead, it's not like a big, thick, super viscous beer. It does coat the palate to an extent, but not quite in the same manner. And of course, we're not dealing with any bittering sensation here, no lingering bitters. I have had meads that have had hops added to give a bittering effect, and that's a very unique mead drinking experience, but this is very much a classic recipe with some additives. So yeah, there's not a ton of real staying power on the finish. I would say, again, this is essentially average, maybe just starting to get into slight higher end of average, and it really comes down to the intensity of the additives here, specifically the berries. The vanilla gets a long gone, while some of the berries still do linger on the palate, but again, without like natural bitters and even thicker viscosity, it doesn't really coat the palate or let the flavors linger and last inordinately long time compared to what a normal mead would. It's just kind of inherent to the nature of a mead. But what I can tell you is it is absolutely delicious. This is a very, very well put together mead. I am really, really just thrilled that we live in a time where not only can we get thousands and thousands of great craft beers, but we've got craft cideries, craft meaderies, and just the options seem to be limitless. And I am going to constantly be buying these when I see them pop up. I love mead. I've been drinking mead a very long time as well. I don't drink as many. I haven't had as many, but I am absolutely a fan. And this is another perfect example of exactly why. I'm going to take my time, sip on this, count my scores. When we come back, we'll get this mead ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this mead, we're going to get it ranked. This was Misbehavin Meads Jammy AF, a 13.5% ABV mead that had blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, and vanilla added to it. Misbehavin Meads is based in Valparaiso, Indiana. So starting with the aroma on this was very, very pronounced. You could really smell all of the additives. And of course it had that classic bold honey aroma that you get in a mead. It smelled fantastic, exactly as I expected, and wonderfully so. The aroma does get a 10 out of 10. For the taste I absolutely loved. I said this one kind of reminded me a lot of with the baseball bat mead that we did relatively recently. That was another Misbehavin Meads mead. This one, absolutely fantastic. Distinctly different, no peanuts. but it kind of gave the same vibe. And Jammy AF, there you go, because the other one was kind of a PB&J in mead form. This is just like a jammy full of jam flavored fruits. And of course, I did mention the vanilla that did add very much this kind of berries and cream vibe to it. It was absolutely fantastic, and all of the added ingredients really came out clearly. The taste gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the body in this was really just high end of average for the ABV range for mead. It wasn't light, it wasn't super heavy, it was just high end of average. Body gets a 6 out of 10. For the mouthfeel on this one was basically the same story here. It wasn't non-viscous, but it wasn't overtly viscous. I did kind of, for the ABV range, expect it with these added fruit to have a bit more thickness than it did, but again, it was just high end of average. The mouthfeel gets a 6 out of 10. For the finish on this was nice. Just as with the body and mouthfeel, it was really just on the high end of average though. Pungency of added ingredients, I did kind of expect to add just a little extra driving impetus on the end of this one, but it was, again, just high end of average. It didn't last as long as I expected considering how bold those berry and vanilla additions were. Finish also gets a 6 out of 10. Head and retention, it's a mead. It's exactly what you'd expect. It didn't form one. 10 out of 10. The appearance, this was absolutely lovely. A true, bright, deep ruby red. Absolutely stunning color from those added ingredients. The appearance gets a 10 out of 10. For the balance, talked about this on the aroma and the taste. Yeah, just a beautifully, beautifully balanced mead. Still, at its core, the honey character that comes through in a mead, very, very clear, but all of the added ingredients also had their own voice, and it almost felt like they were equally layered and stacked. Absolutely a masterclass in how to balance a mead with additives. Balance gets a 10 out of 10. Feeling the intangible subjectively, I loved it. I love a good mead, and this was indeed a very good mead. 10 out of 10. Finally is an example of the style. Okay, so there are a lot of meads out there, some just classic standard meads, some that have additives. This was a very well done with additives. It lost a few points in a few categories, notably body, mouthfeel, finish. And really, it only lost them because it didn't meet my expectations for the ABV range. That said, it was in those three categories, very much still on the high end of the average spectrum. And those aren't categories that really impact, in a grand sense, what a mead is all about. So I did give this a perfect score as an example of the style. I think it earned it, a 10 out of 10, which brings the total score on Misbehavin Meads Jammy AF to an 88 out of 100. Just an absolutely another truly delicious mead. The second or third I've had now from Misbehavin Meads. They really know what they're doing over there. They always come up with unique and interesting kind of additives for their meads, and just an absolute treat. Every time I have a mead, I think to myself, I don't drink enough mead. And that's a fact. So long as Tavour is still going to get them for us to grab when they pop up, I will continue to do so. I have had great luck with the meads I've gotten from Tavour, and multiple from Misbehavin now, and they're all top tier. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep your beer, keep your craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.